Americans love scenery. We want to see it all, from one coast to the next, Mount Rushmore down to the Everglades. So hop into a Chevy Malibu and take the scenic route. It's the car you knew America could build. There's a place where people count on friendships they can trace back generations, where they can count on the same stool at the coffee shop waiting for them every morning. This place is called Glen Ellen, and you can find it in every bottle of Glen Ellen wine. This is craft brewed Herman Joseph's, the smoothest, easiest drinking specialty beer in the entire solar system. And I believe you'll find drinkable in the dictionary right after don't order a beer you can't drink. Zoingo! Boingo! The freestyle pogo with more boing, more bounce. Bounce further, bounce higher with Zoingo Boingo. To see what makes Arrowhead Mountain Spring water different from those other waters, you have to go back to the source. And with Arrowhead, that means going back a little farther and longer than most. Between security challenged and security strengthened, there's one important word: how. And it is the how that makes all the difference to our nation and our world. Lockheed Martin. We never forget who we're working for. What makes Kraft Singles so good? 2 out of every 3 kids don't get the recommended amount of calcium. But with Kraft Singles, they get a good source of calcium and the taste they love. Kraft Singles. Magic every single time. Throw boring overboard with a new real meal from Long John Silver's. A meal worthy of a plate, just $4.99. Only at Long John Silver's. We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Introducing the Hyundai 199 Sonata Lease. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. Now a little bit of Bartiromo and then Varney.
Time for the big buzz of the morning. Fox Corporation is partnering with U.S. vets for the Make Camo Your Cause campaign. It's the 5th straight year. This campaign is dedicated to ending veteran homelessness in the United States because veterans and homelessness should never be uttered in the same sentence.
Okay, so one thing you need to notice there is the word eliminate. This is the way that the left sneaks their agenda into our lives by using language. Again, framing the argument. We need to frame the argument correctly. The correct word here is reducing. We'll never eliminate homelessness, whether it's veterans homelessness or any other type of homelessness. Okay, it's not going to ever be eliminated. We will never have the perfect society. It's just not going to happen. But that's what the left wants to do. They want to sneak that into our psyche, and I'm not going to let them do it. You shouldn't either. Back to the program.
All right, we've got our gear on set as we, of course, like to support this amazing cause, I have to say here as I hit my mic. But so let's get some final thoughts from you guys as we get ready for the opening bell on this Monday.
Cheryl, I think this tariff case is about the control of America's economy, and the Supreme Court will stand with President Trump, and it'll be remembered the moment that the United States drew a line and decided we're not going to outsource prosperity, and we're going to protect presidential authority, and the buck will stop with President Trump.
And now all eyes are on the Supreme Court on Wednesday, again, because, of the billions in revenue that has come into this nation thanks to these tariffs. So we'll see. In China, the deal hopefully signed soon.
A lot of information on the table. We also get the ADP report, which is going to be key because we're not getting that public data, so the private data. Also today talking about the regulatory environment that's still to come across the board, whether it's within banking, energy. We still think the rewards of the regulatory reform and the better regulatory environment still to be felt in 2026. So overall, we remain constructive on markets. We think the backdrop is good heading through the end of 2025 into 2026.
All about AI, Mehek. It really is. We've talked about job creation. We've talked about energy production. And it really is an exciting time.
It is, and I think at the end of the day, parents need to reassess college. If your kid is not going to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, think about AI tech, think about tech cred, and think about trade schools, because that's your advancement to the future.
Yeah, it really is. Well, guys, thank you so much for being with me this Monday. I really appreciate it. Mehek Cook.
Thank you.
Of course, Greg Farinello. Good to see all of you. That is it for me. But coming up right now, it is time for some Varney and Company. Stuart Varney, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Cheryl, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to a very political week. There's a lot going on with your money, too. Well, we're going to start there. First thing on a Monday morning, you want to know how your investments are doing. So I would guess not too shabby this Monday. The Dow is going to be down just a little, but the S&P is up 26, and look at that NASDAQ go, another 230 points higher. That's 0.89%. Palantir, they report after the bell. That stock has gone way up this year. Another gain, pre-market trading today. You're at 205 on Palantir. AMD, they report tomorrow. That stock is also moving up. Pre-market. Bitcoin, though, that's back to $107,000 a coin, 108 almost exactly right now. Gold holding just above $4,000 an ounce, 4,028. Silver around $50, you're at 48.31. The 10-year Treasury yield is 4.10, now 4.11. The 2-year right around 3.61%. Now to this.
Okay, so again, he fails to do this right. What he should be talking about is the big banks. He should be saying that the big banks are bullish on this, bearish on that. Anything that's going down, they're selling. Anything that's going up, they're buying. That's the way he should report this, because that's the truth. These markets don't move themselves. They're moved, and they're moved by the big banks. If you doubt me, there's an excellent book by Jim Cramer called Getting Rich Carefully, Chapter 1. Read it. Back to the show.
Very political week. Elections tomorrow. The Democrat holds a commanding lead in the Virginia governor's race. The Republican is closing the gap with the Democrat in New Jersey. Zoran Mandami has a double-digit lead over Andrew Cuomo in the New York mayoral race. 735,000 ballots cast already in New York. It's not clear who that favors. President Trump calls Mandami a communist. He's threatening to withhold federal funds from New York if he wins. Airport delays and cancellations are mounting. More than 20,000 over the weekend, and more today. That's putting pressure on Congress to settle the government shutdown. Federal employees, they're about to see $21 billion worth of missed paychecks, and millions of SNAP recipients will miss their November food stamps. All of that added up, and it's more pressure to settle fast. On the show today, something positive from a sporting event. I went to Chicago for the rugby match between the New Zealand All Blacks and the Irish national team. Ireland lost. I was wearing New Zealand colours, and I was surrounded by the Irish wearing their green. Not a single nasty look or hostile language. It was a very good-natured crowd. The stadium ran out of Guinness. It is Monday, November the 3rd, 2025.
There you go. So Stuart Varney decided to come back from his 3-day weekend. I hope he's nice and rested, and that he was able to count up all his money, etc. Nonprofit news now. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now an article from Real Clear Politics. Obama mocks Republicans. You got a flat tire? DEI wife left you. DEI. I don't know. Anyways, Obama mocks Republicans. We'll call it that. President Barack Obama. Meanwhile, the government is shut down, and the Republicans who are currently in charge of Congress are not even pretending to solve the problem. They have not been showing up to work, not in session. And where are you? What are you doing? As for the president, he's been focused on critical issues, like paving over the Rose Garden so folks don't get mud on their shoes, gold-plating the Oval Office, and building a $300 million ballroom. If you can't visit a doctor, don't worry. He'll save you a dance. And if you don't get an invitation to the next White House shindig, you can always watch the festivities and all the beautiful people on Truth Social. The point is, there's no evidence the Republican policies have made life better for you, the people of Virginia. They have devoted enormous energy to entrenching themselves in power, punishing their enemies, enriching their friends, and silencing their critics. They put on a big show. They never miss a chance to scapegoat minorities or DEI for every problem under the sun. You got a flat tire? DEI. Wife mad at you? DEI. What they have not devoted energy to is helping you. They've not put forward serious proposals to lower housing costs or make groceries more affordable. They've not improved our schools or made healthcare more accessible. They have not shortened your commute or prepared young people for the future when AI might take their jobs. So when you ask yourself, what is he doing? He's explaining. And he's explaining why it is that Democrats are not in power. And what we know about explaining is that when you explain, you lose because you sound as though your heart's not in it. You don't really believe it. And that's what we have with former President Barack Obama, he was stumping for a politician in Virginia when he came up with, this is a transcript of what he said. Now, how do you deal with it? In the first paragraph, meanwhile, the government shut down. The Republicans who are currently in charge of Congress are not even pretending to solve the problem. They've not even been showing up to work, not in session. And the response is, that's right, and there's nothing you can do about it. You have no authority, no power, and you can't win. As for the president, he's been focused on critical issues like paving over the Rose Garden, blah, blah, blah. And so you get to watch it all the beautiful people on Truth Social. That's right, and there's nothing you can do about it. You have no authority, no power, and you can't win. The point is, there's no evidence Republican policies have made life better for you, the people of Virginia. They never miss a chance to scapegoat minorities or DEI for every problem under the sun. That's right, and there's nothing you can do about it. You have no authority, no power, you can't win. So we don't allow ourselves, the true conservative does not allow himself to get dragged into gratuitous arguments. You want to the idea here is the person that gets in the last word wins the argument. Welcome back to junior high school. Welcome back to the 7th grade. That's the way our political discourse is, and that's the way it's going to remain for the foreseeable future. So again, this is the headline is Obama. All Trump's weird nonsense is to distract you from the fact that your situation has not gotten better. And so again, he's just complaining because he has no authority, no power, and he can't win. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now there's a little segment here on Maria Bartiromo, and they're interviewing a lady about Nikki Minaj. Here we go.
She has never been a fan of President Trump and has always been very outspoken against him, celebrating this move by President Trump to actually say to the government of Nigeria, enough.
Yes, I was a little surprised by this from Ms. Minaj, who I don't know a great deal about, but I do know she is a very open Christian and that she takes this problem seriously, and it is a horrible problem. A lot of this has metastasized over the last 5 years, Cheryl, because the Biden administration abandoned a lot of our counterterrorism partnerships with the French and with the countries like Niger in Central West Africa. And so these groups, Boko Haram and other radical Islamic groups who are carrying out these horrendous attacks, were allowed to run free. And this is a bigger issue for the region because, remember, Nigeria is one of the world's great energy producers.
Okay, so that's enough. So the point here is that what she said about Nikki Minaj and not being an open Christian, and I have never, ever heard her express her faith in Jesus Christ, and so I don't recognize her as a Christian. There's no such thing as a closed Christian. Okay, this is one of the things that the left likes to do. They like to categorize and subcategorize. If they want to get rid of Christianity, one of the best ways to do it is to have Christianity get rid of itself. Because this is part of what Marx has predicted, that it's not so much that socialism will triumph over capitalism, is that capitalism will destroy itself. It turns out that it's socialism that's destroying itself, but that's another issue. But here they go with, so you have Christians, then you have open Christians and closed Christians, I guess. I guess Nikki Minaj is considered a closed Christian, but it's wrong. The fact of the matter is that if you're a Christian, you're called to carry the message. You're called to tell people that Jesus Christ died for your sin. If you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you will have everlasting life. You're called to carry that message and do so openly. You don't hide it. There's no hidden Christians. And we see that in Nigeria, where people are celebrating their Christian faith openly in spite of all of the horrific punishments that they're taking. So, again, I'm not going to allow this person, this liberal that she's interviewing and that's describing Nikki Minaj as a closed Christian, to influence my thinking and thereby influence my behavior. There's no subcategories of Christians. There's just Christian. Either you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, or you do not. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little bit of motivation.
When you feel like giving up, don't. When you're thinking about giving up, don't. When it look like you ain't gonna make it, keep going. When they tell you you can't, come on, man, who are they? When they tell you you're not gonna make it, don't believe them, man. Don't believe them. You got to be relentless. Don't give up. Don't give up. Stay in it. Stay focused. Quitting guarantees the failure. Once you quit, it rules out any chance of succeeding. The mere waking up every day, putting the next foot in front of the next foot, at least keeps you in the game.
But you can choose in the midst of all of this that's going on to be happy.
in spite of life's challenges. See, a lot of us, because of our limited vision of ourselves, a lot of us who begin to focus on problems and enable them to overwhelm us, we begin to think that we have no options. We begin to believe that there's no way out. Well, guess what? There's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. We have two primary choices in life. We can either accept conditions as they exist, or we can take the responsibility to change them. See, a lot of people want to exempt themselves from taking responsibility. All they want to do is talk about the problem. Every time you see them, they'll tell you their story over and over and over and over again. No. You want to take responsibility for your life. I got me here, I can get me out of this. And I'm getting out. I'm not going to be a volunteer victim. I'm unstoppable. This will not get me down. You've got to make those kind of declarations to yourself. I have never met anybody who became incredibly successful in any area of their life until they had suffered and sweated and sacrificed and kept their focus and fought through tears and trials and tests. And if you have a dream and you commit to it, it will come to pass. You must have patience and engage in consistent action. We live in a world, ladies and gentlemen, where people want instant gratification. They want it right now. No, it's simple, but it's not easy. It's a system that if you work the system, it works if you work it. But make no mistake about it, it's hard. And you are the determining factor. The people that make it in this world look around for the circumstances that they want, and if they can't find them, they create them. It's you that you must take personal responsibility to make it happen. It's hard. No, easy is not an option. However, ladies and gentlemen, what you will discover is that it's worth it. Write down 5 reasons of why it is worth it for you to become a diamond, to experience that level of achievement. What is it that will give you the drive? What is it that will ignite the courage in you to get up and come back again and again and again? How is it that you would be able, what reasons that can tap in to that deep down feeling that goes to your gut, that no matter how many times you get knocked down, that you're coming back? Listen to me, this is how you do it first. Over 6-7 years ago, with no money, no human resources, no building, no funding, no support. The first thing we did was we dreamed, we wrote the dream down, we rehearsed the dream, we looked at the dream, we talked about the dream, we slept with the dream, we woke up to the dream, we wore the dream, and now boom, it's our reality. And for some of you, you stop dreaming. You dream for a week and you stop because things around you don't look good. You dream for a month, then when you get hit in the mouth, you quit and you give up. You dream for a while, and when people tell you crazy, and when people tell you stupid, and when people tell you can never get done, you stop dreaming and you go back to knowledge. And I dare you to use your imagination. I dare you when you're broke to use your imagination. I dare you when you're rich to use your imagination. I dare you under every single circumstance. Keep dreaming. Keep looking at your dream. Keep focusing on your dream. Keep going after the dream because that's where true success is.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now a little meditation. And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. So about AI, I've seen there was a little something on Maria Bartiromo about AI, and there was an article. It was in the one article that I just read a little while ago about Barack Obama, and he was complaining that AI is going to take away people's jobs. What he doesn't realize is the issue is productivity. We have to be productive. That's what generates wealth. That's what pays our bills. That's what allows us to pay our debts. And allows us to be ever increasingly prosperous as a country and as individuals is productivity. Are jobs going to be taken away? Very possibly, and then we will have a more productive society. And the people that would normally be working will find other ways of generating income. There's a myth about that the job of the economy is to create jobs. No, it isn't. The job of any economy is to create wealth. And don't forget it. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now from a book that's called Good Inside. What's the opposite of understanding? For this argument's sake, it's convincing. Convincing is the attempt to prove a singular reality, to prove that only one thing is true. Convincing is an attempt to be right, and as a result make the other person wrong. It rests on the assumption that there's only one correct viewpoint. And then my question is this supposed to be convincing? Further, convincing has one goal in mind, being right. And here's the unfortunate consequence of being right. The other person feels unseen and unheard, at which point most people become infuriated and combative, because it feels as if the other person does not accept your realness or worth. Feeling unseen and unheard makes connection impossible. Understanding two things are true and convincing one thing is true are diametrically opposed ways of approaching other people, so a powerful first step in any interaction is to notice which mode you're in. When you're in one thing is true mode, you're judgmental of and reactive to someone else's experience because it feels like an assault on your own truth. As a result, you will seek to prove your own point of view, which in turn makes the other person defensive because they need to uphold the realness of their experience. In one thing is true mode, exchanges escalate quickly. Each person thinks they're arguing about the content of the conversation when in fact they're trying to defend that they are a real, worthy person with a real, truthful experience. And again, is this convincing? Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little clip from a 60 Minutes interview with President Trump.
What happens to your economic plan if the Supreme Court invalidates your tariffs?
I think
there we go. So he's going to go ahead and answer this. Let me let him answer it, and then we'll come back to it.
Country will be immeasurably hurt. I think our economy will go to hell. Look, because of tariffs, we have the highest stock market we've ever had.
Okay, so what he's doing here is he's making a mistake. The true conservative listens carefully. What did she say? She said, your tariffs. She didn't say what is going to happen to the country's economy if the Supreme Court invalidates tariffs, because that's really what the issue is about. Can the executive branch do tariffs or not? And I suppose that really what this comes down to is who has the power to do tariffs. Is it going to be Congress or the executive branch? Can the executive branch just arbitrarily declare tariffs, or does Congress need to get involved? But the point is, she says your tariffs. And he needs, when he hears that, you listen as a true conservative, when you hear them trying to isolate you, again, that's an Alinsky tactic, you switch it, you turn it around so that the interviewer becomes the isolated one. So he would come back and say, they're not my tariffs, they are this tariffs of the United States of America. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, what does the phrase, if you're explaining you're losing, mean in debates? This was said by Ronald Reagan, speaking of political campaigns. From the perspective of your audience, if you have to explain yourself, you come off looking desperate to convince. As a consequence, you lose the high ground. From a more philosophical perspective, when you have a clear conscience and strong conviction towards the positions you take, your values, truth, and direction, you don't need the opinions or consent of others. As a consequence, you don't need to explain yourself. However, if you yourself are not convinced of the validity and truth of your position, or you can't fully justify your choices, then you continue to expel words in an attempt to create the illusion of certainty. Back in a minute. Here's another clip from on X from Donald Trump's 60 Minutes interview, which, by the way, was a mistake. There's no reason for him to go on to 60 Minutes. All it does is give ratings for 60 Minutes. It does nothing for him. It does nothing for his administration. It does nothing for the United States of America. So big mistake. I hope he learns his lesson, and I hope he doesn't repeat the mistake. But here's again.
Well, recently, Americans have been watching videos of ICE tackling a young mother, tear gas being used in a Chicago residential neighborhood, and the smashing of car windows. Have some of these raids gone too far?
No, I think they haven't gone far enough, because we've been held back by the judges, by the liberal judges that were put in by Biden and by Obama.
You're okay with those tactics?
Yeah, because you have to get the people out,
Okay, so right there he makes the mistake, as again, she sets this up by saying Americans have seen. And one of the first things he should have done is say, what are you talking about? What are you babbling about? Make her give her sources. Because it's an arbitrary claim. Americans have seen. Where did they see it? When did they see it? How did they see it? Were they there? Is this first-hand reports, second-hand reports, third-hand reports? So you challenge her on that and say, what are you talking about? If she comes to them back and say, well, this was, there's videotapes of it on X, for instance. Then you come back and say, no, there isn't. You make her earn it. Okay, make her earn it. Just as simple. Make any liberal earn it. If they're going to win and they earn it, fine, I give it to them. But I'm not going to give it away. I'm not just going to hand them a victory. And that's what Donald Trump is doing here by not challenging them. Next, she comes out and says, so you're okay with that. And the idea then is to pit the President of the United States against the American people and make it look as though the 365 million Americans disapprove of what he's doing, and he's the only person in the country that thinks that what's going on vis-a-vis ICE is okay. And you can turn that around. And when she says, so you're okay, he can say, all of America is okay. The only one that's not okay is you. Okay? Because after all, she asked the question. So we assume she's a liberal and that she disapproves of what she has seen go on. Not America. She doesn't represent anybody. She's supposed to be a news reporter. But anyways, those three mistakes. Number one, don't go on shows like 60 Minutes to begin with. Number two, listen carefully. The true conservative listens carefully. And when you hear them setting up the question, that's the weak point. Take advantage of that. Second, don't allow them to isolate you. That's one of the Alinsky tactics. Isolate your subject and attack them. Make them look as though they're a kook. They're the only person in the United States of America or in the world that thinks the way they do. Don't allow that to happen. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now the preamble to the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Back in a minute. Thank you. So Donald Trump was being interviewed by 60 Minutes. So it wasn't actually an interview, but I'll get to that in a minute. So there he is, and one of the things they asked about was prosecutions of people like James Comey. And so she starts off by saying, there's a pattern to these prosecutions in that they're all public figures and they're public figures that have denounced you. And then she goes ahead and asks a question. And again, he goes ahead and answers the question. He does, considering that he didn't listen, a reasonably good job defending himself. But listen, the true conservative listens. When she says that have denounced you, that's the weakness, that's the key. Now, make no mistake, this isn't really an interview. This is about winning and losing because this is a debate, and the purpose of the debate is to defeat President Trump, make him look bad. That's the whole purpose here. 60 Minutes is on CBS, and CBS hates Donald Trump. And CBS makes no secret of that, and CBS has done whatever it possibly can to make Donald Trump look bad in order to get rid of him. So, but he goes into this interview naive. He goes into this interview as though he doesn't know that. He's got to, if he's going to sit down, number one rule is don't sit down and have an interview, so-called interview with your enemies. Don't do it. Number two, if you're going to do it, have backup. Have people with you, by the way. You don't want to go into any interview, and he does this all the time, where there's nobody else around him. when you're campaigning, what do you see the campaigners do, including Donald Trump? When he gets up on stage and you look at him, there's not a blank background. It doesn't look like he's all by himself. The background is filled up with people, cheering, happy people, so that it looks as though he's leading a charge. It has a much stronger effect psychologically than if he was standing there all by himself. He wants to remember that. You're always campaigning. If you're not campaigning for yourself because you're not going to run next time, you're campaigning for your party and for the other people in that party. And so he should always, when he's going to have an interview, if he's going to make the mistake of having this interview anyways, he's got to be bullheaded about it and do it, then go ahead, sit down, but make sure that when the camera's on him, they can see that there's people behind him. And I would recommend at least having his Secret Service agents seated behind him, and if he can manage it, his some cabinet members as well, so that you can see that, visually and psychologically, it's much stronger. Okay, and then if you're going to do this, you got to realize you're sitting down, being interviewed, being debated by your enemy, and that they're going to try to defeat you. And that's what you do, is you anticipate. You listen with an ear for those little moments like the people that have denounced you. He in the interview says, well, I was innocent. I was prosecuted and I was innocent. But the innocent guy is going to, if you're innocent, which he was, then there's no reason for anybody to denounce you. Right? See the logic there? So that's where he should step in and say, nobody denounced me. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay? You can say, when they say, well, they denounced you, are you sure? How do you know? Oh, well, we heard it there. We saw it there. No, you didn't. And you fight it. That's where the battle is, right there. Right there. You don't go ahead and answer any questions until you get that issue settled, until they can prove to your satisfaction that that's true. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, this is from an Instagram account called Steve Lazarus.
Here are the top 3 trick questions a cop might ask during a traffic stop and how you should answer. Question 1. Where are you headed today? Or, where are you coming from? This one's iffy. He's hoping you'll say, I'm coming from a Super Bowl party or something similar, so he can develop enough reasonable suspicion to hook you up for a DUI. The safe bet is I'd rather not answer that. But if you're leaving church or your shift as a volunteer at the Children's Hospital and you think that may work in your favor, that's your call. Question 2. Do you know why I stopped you? He knows why he stopped you, but he's hoping you'll provide more bait for his little fishing trip. So listen carefully. I don't care if you were doing 80 in a school zone on 4 bald tires with a dead hooker hanging out your trunk. The answer here is a simple no. And question 3, would you mind if I just took a quick look around inside your car? Same fishing trip, but now he just wants to see how stupid you are. You're not, so the answer is I do not give you permission to search my person or my vehicle. Bottom line, be polite but firm, and never forget, this was an adversarial situation the moment you saw those lights in your rear view.
And again, that's an Instagram account called Steve Lazarus Books, and he bills himself as a retired FBI agent. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now from an account called Babyface Boomer on Instagram.
This that you see right behind me is the $1 billion capital renovation project that's going on in Sacramento. This was approved by Governor Gavin Newsom, and yet he's doing all this pearl clutching, claiming, oh my gosh, Donald Trump is getting rid of history. He demolished the East Wing of the White House. You can see it on X. It's literally a post. But here he is approving tearing down the east side of the California State Capitol, which looked like a replica of the United States Capitol, and apparently that's not historical enough to preserve it. This is the hypocrisy that Gavin Newsom lives and thrives on. This is funded by our taxpayer dollars. The $300 million project that Donald Trump is doing in Washington, D.C. is completely donor funded. And this guy who funded this project has the audacity to give illegal immigrants 62,000 California driver's licenses. Yet, if you heard the news recently, there was apparently an illegal immigrant who was driving a semi-truck and killed 3 people. And if you saw the footage, a bunch of cars exploded.
And that was from an account called Babyface Boomer on Instagram. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little bit of Michael Knowles.
A worldview premised upon the public and private spheres is an attractive mirage that masks the reality of economic and political power. Now, Derek Bell's words here are race-specific, but there's a deeper root ideology beneath the wokeism, and that's the philosophy of deconstructionism. This philosophy suggests that all rules, all supposed eternal truths are nothing of the kind. They're just made-up systems of power. The chief expositor of this dumb idea was the garbage philosopher Michel Foucault, who wrote, "Truth is a thing of this world. It is produced only by virtue of multiple forms of constraint, and it induces regular effects of power."
So there you go. That was Michael Knowles. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little Jordan Peterson.
Most relevant events of World War II are those that are the closest to Hitler's evil. It begs the question is, what's the ethic? And that's the question that confronts us, I would say, most starkly in the modern world. And that's really, in some sense, what the entire cultural war that we're all experiencing right now, that's what it's about. It's what is the ethic? You know, and I'm interested in the Judeo-Christian answer to that. I mean, the ethic and the postmodernist types like Derrida actually criticized Western thought for this very reason. Derrida called the West phallogocentric, phal as in P-H-A-L-L, phallus, so masculine, logocentric. It's like, yeah, that's right, it's phallogocentric. Well, he thought that was a bad thing. And my response to that is, yeah, compared to what?
And that was little Jordan Peterson. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, moral politics.
Part 6. Who's right, and how can you tell? Chapter 20. Non-ideological reasons for being a liberal. Up to this point, my aim has been to describe, as accurately as possible, the conceptual systems behind conservatism and liberalism, and to meet as well as possible the standard kinds of criteria for accuracy and explanation that I set for myself initially. I have tried to put aside my own political views in doing the analysis. Setting criteria for an adequate explanation was a way of forcing myself to do that. I hope that, in meeting the criteria for adequacy, I have provided an explanatory model that is worthy of my discipline, a model that is free of political and moral assumptions. But I am not a moral relativist. I am a committed liberal. In the process of writing this book, I have had to examine, and therefore question, every point of my own beliefs. Every day, I have had to compare my liberal beliefs with conservative beliefs, and ask myself what, if any, reason I had to hold my beliefs. I have emerged from the process with a great respect for the coherence of the conservative position, and for the intelligence and cleverness used by conservatives in articulating their views in a powerful way. Like many other liberals, I once thought of conservatives disparagingly as mean, or insensitive, or selfish, or tools of the rich, or just downright fascists. I have come to realize that conservatives are, for the most part, ordinary people who see themselves as highly moral idealists defending what they deeply believe is right. I now understand why there are so many fervently committed conservatives. I also find conservatism, now that I think I understand it reasonably well, even more frightening than I did before. My new understanding of conservatism and liberalism has made me more of a liberal than ever. I find that I now can consciously comprehend my old instincts. I can give names to things that I could not clearly articulate before, things that were part of a vague sense of what was right. What's more important is that I understand that political liberalism comes out of a well-grounded, highly structured, and fully developed moral system that I deeply believe in. That moral system itself comes out of a model of the family that I also deeply believe in. Now that I can see the unity and strength of liberal morality and politics, I feel more than ever that liberalism must be articulated fully, communicated clearly, and defended staunchly. Not on an issue-by-issue basis, but as a whole, as a deeply moral perspective on politics. It may sound as if my old prejudices have just been reinforced and that I am taking liberalism on faith alone. Not so. The process of thinking all this through has convinced me that there are overwhelming reasons to be a liberal that come from outside liberalism itself. I think I can finally put my finger on just why I have been a liberal. Why political liberalism has always made sense to me. Why it has always been not only an idealistic and practical calling, but mainly a response to my most fundamental human instincts. What I have found, in the course of this study, is that there are in fact good reasons for choosing the nurturant parent model of the family, nurturant parent morality, and with them, liberal politics. This book has been about worldview. But at some point, the world must enter. Liberals and conservatives have different ideal models of how to raise children. Are there reasons to choose? Liberals and conservatives have different moral systems. Does it make any sense to compare moral systems? If so, on what basis can you compare them? And what results from the comparison? Liberals and conservatives make different assumptions about how people naturally think and act. Do we know enough from cognitive or any other science to decide the matter? I believe that we know enough to allow us to choose in all these domains. It is our knowledge of the world that allows us to choose between worldviews. In each case, there is research bearing on the choice, and in each case, the answer is the same. There are good reasons to choose liberalism. If I were to be asked to list those reasons and the basis for them very briefly at the outset, each in 1 or 2 sentences, here is what the list would be. Reason 1. The nurturant parent model is superior as a method of child rearing. Reason 2. Strict father morality requires a view of human thought that is at odds with what we know about the way the mind works. Reason 3. Strict father morality often finds morality in harm. Nurturant parent morality does not. There are, of course, other real-world reasons to be a liberal. The environment is being seriously threatened right now, and conservative moves to end environmental controls, such as clean air and pure water enforcement, will only make things much worse. At present, 70% of the wealth in America is owned by 10% of the families. That means that 90% of the families share only 30% of the wealth. Since the rich have always tended to get richer, not poorer, the prospects are for a less than 30% share of the national wealth to be available to 90% of our population. That disparity is so large that it threatens the possibility for real prosperity for most of our citizens. Further conservative tax cuts for the rich will only make the disparity larger. These and many other real-world reasons make conservatism dangerous. But there is no lack of competent observers writing about these issues. Let me turn instead to the 3 reasons I just mentioned, since the public is not widely aware of them.
And that was the beginning, it was chapter 20 in its entirety of Moral Politics, How Liberals and Conservatives Think. Now, up until now, he's been very vague and kind of playing hide and seek, hide and seek. This chapter, he starts out bold. He says, uses the R word. Which one of them is right? I thought, wow. I was thinking right here in this chapter he was going to answer that question. He didn't, but oh well. And then he comes out and identifies himself, which he hadn't done in this book up until this point. He says he's a liberal and that he's even more liberal after having written this book than he was before. Gee, what a surprise. I think that's called a confirmation bias. In any case, those are the two things that stood out to me in this particular chapter. And next week, chapter 21. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host and the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there and reminding you that atheism doesn't exist.